Good morning. How's everyone this morning? Well, between falling asleep and the computer acting crazy, I'm here. Bless your hearts. I'm glad to see y'all are too. I'm glad y'all don't give up on me. A lot of people would. But my brethren don't, and I'm proud of that. Not because it's me, but because it's y'all. Well, today is where we show what Parker believed about evil. And I think we're going to get far enough through this. You're going to see him contradict himself at least once. At least once. Maybe twice, but at least once today. Oh, mercy. Still trying to wake up. I don't know. It's tough. Well, if you heard me and want to come over here, come on. No, you're not going to jump, are you? Look at there. There's my baby. She got to have some dental work done. Poor little thing. We got the appointment made. You don't know what's going to happen yet, but we got the appointment made. You might have to have a couple pulled, according to the vet. All right, here we are. Let's see what Elder Parker has to say. Like I say, here's where we start to disagree. And I want to cover this. Now, stay with me here. I want to cover this just as carefully as I did the part on the eternal relationship, with which we do agree. And the reason I want to cover it just as carefully is I want us to understand where he was coming from and how he came up with that, some of the notions he came up with. And I'm going to tell you what, now there's a couple of things in here that'll make you think. Now, we all know Parker was not an educated man by book, by school. Thompson was an educated man by book, but he wasn't by school. In other words, he got his own education after the time of schooling by reading books, and based on the autobiography, the Simple Truth, and Triumphs of Truth, we know some of what he had read and used. We know he had church history, at least one, because he had Robinson's History of Baptism. I'm going to say probably the Benedict edition, but I'm not sure about that. Just because it would probably be the most common in the United States. That's the one that's on Google Books. We know that he had theology. He had The Spirit of Liberty by John Stevens, who wrote under the pseudonym Junius Jr. We also know he had a copy of Buck's Theological Dictionary. We also know he at least read Thomas Boston's work on the covenants, because he quotes from Boston and says, and he may have read other works by Puritans or Reformed on the covenants, because he said Boston is representative of the view that the covenant was a bargain. So just go by that. Parker, we find so far in either the Doctrine of the Two Seeds, the supplement, the practical address. Morning. And now the second dose, we find him quoting no works, none. Now, I'll admit to not having read the first volume of the Church Advocate, his periodical, carefully, but I'm going to, we also know that Thompson had Alexander Campbell's first debate. Campbell Walker, I think, because he quotes from it. We know that Parker received Campbell's paper because he quotes from it in attempting to refute Alexander Campbell's doctrine. And he also quotes from some other periodicals, what we would now style as missionary Baptist periodicals. But there are, in volume 1, I don't remember seeing any reference to a book, a dictionary, or anything like that in it. There could be, like I say, I didn't read all of it carefully. But we see the difference between Parker and Thompson. They were both men of the frontier, Thompson of Kentucky and Parker of Georgia, then Tennessee. Both wound up in what we now call the Midwest for a lengthy period in Thompson's case. In Parker's case, he's going to go to Texas, where he'll die after about 10 years in Texas. He's going to stay on the frontier, in other words. That's what I'm getting at. Thompson is in the Midwest after it is no longer the frontier, even though he went through it when it was. So whether or not it's from, now we're talking humanly speaking, of course, here. In my opinion, it's because Thompson taught school and was of a more studious nature than Parker. Parker seemingly, and this is seemingly, I cannot say for sure, though I'd like to be able to, and I hope someday to be able to say this is the correct thing. Parker did not believe he needed anything other than his Bible, period. That's all he needed. He would read other periodicals, he would see what was going on, but he seems to have read periodicals mainly to refute what was in them, not because he agreed with them. We don't see him, for example, quoting the Reformer in his paper, at least not in the first volume. The reason I'm saying it like that is because I have most of the second volume on photocopy, but I haven't studied it. So I've read over parts of it, and I don't remember anything like it in that. And I'm not even going to say there isn't, just because of that I haven't studied it that deeply. All right, so like I say, I want us to realize that he did not come up with this stuff willy-nilly. He did not come up with this stuff just to have something to do. He has reasons behind everything he says. And it's up to us to weigh his reasons to see, number one, whether they're biblical. Number two, whether they're logical. Number three, whether they're logically biblical. And number four, whether we find the witness of the Spirit within us when we encounter them. Now, I think I can speak for all of us when I say he was talking about the eternal relationship between Christ and his people, all those things just fell right into place. Now, I'm not sure it's going to. Although I will say this, if anybody does agree with Parker on this, even in the midst of his contradictions, communicate on why you think so, because I see so many problems in his view biblically that on part of it, I'd like to know if somebody disagrees with me. All right, here we go. I shall now come to the positive part, which is to prove that the evil, the opposite to God, did exist before the fall of man. All right, mark that down, because this is what he's seeking to prove right now. The evil, the opposite to God, did exist before the fall of man. All right. The first cause of sin, distress, and death never did proceed from the perfections of deity. As to the fact that iniquity does exist, is not the dispute, but the source from whence it sprang is the point at hand. All right. In other words, he says everybody knows evil's here. Everybody knows sin has come into the world. Everybody knows. Everybody feels it. But the question is, where did it come from? What is its origin? What is its source? I am apprised of the various notions about fallen angels becoming devils. This, that, and the other. But I think it will puzzle anyone to prove that any angel which God created has ever become a devil. Now let me read that to you again. I am apprised of the various notions about fallen angels becoming devils, this, that, and the other. But I think that it will puzzle anyone to prove that any angel which God created has ever become a devil. I shall notice what the scripture saith on that subject before I'm done. Problem receiving. Yes, I know. How about the rest of you? Y'all having problems too? Do we need to start this over and make this a part one and make a part two? Anybody else having problems? Kind of looks like it's pausing on me, so I don't know. Let me know. Okay, you don't have a problem. Well, John, brother, you generally have a problem if anybody does, so I'm going to go with you. And keep going, Brother Bellamy. Yes, please try again later. It will be there. Lord willing, he'll be on the Welsh Track YouTube channel, and a link will be posted on the Welsh Track Facebook page. All right. Now, I wish here to be understood that I believe the power of darkness and the power of God are two separate powers, sources, or causes, and that the power of darkness has no power to pray or act upon the works of God, only as God is pleased to suffer it to be. All right, so here he sits. Okay. Here he says, this is the first part of this book where he says it plainly. Power of darkness and the power of God have two separate sources. They're two separate powers. They come from two separate sources. But notice here as well. Oh, two of you are spinning, are you? Well, I'm sorry. Listen now on this, because this is important. Even though you're back good, wonderful. Think about this for just a second with me. Think on me. Yes. Think with me about this. Even though Parker's going to tell us here eventually that yes, power of darkness, power of God, power of darkness, power of light, power of good, power of evil are two different things, two separate things. They come from two separate sources. They can't be confused. You can't get one out of the other, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to say that one is just as uncreated and thereby eternal, in my opinion, as the other. But he still holds that the power of darkness can go no further than what the power of God allows it to go. Now, I'm going to say something, in my opinion. And I'm going to say in my opinion a lot because I'm going to be giving my opinion on this, and it is my opinion. And if you agree with me, well, I'll feel pretty good. And if you don't, I might not feel as good, but it's still going to be my opinion. I think till God changes my mind. To me, if one is co eternal, if the